like image processing, geospatial science, and machine learning. So I heartily welcome to the first presenter of this session. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everybody. Myself is Sanjay Rao, and I would like to start my presentation. And my presentation title is Land Cover Classification using Decentralization algorithm. These are the contents. Okay. Now moving on to the presentation. We have to identify what do you mean the land cover, and land cover generally indicates the physical land type, that means the naturally present on the surface of Earth. And most of the land cover and the land use mapping were done from the image classifications, and the pixel-based classifications was the ancient, and most of the results in the earlier time was done by the pixel-based. And that the drawbacks of pixel-based is that when there is edge, in that case the pixel will not work accurately. In that case, we have to develop or we have to research on the new methodology for the image classification. That's why I have applied a decent tree method for the image classification, and it is one of the part of supervised machine learning, we can say. And simply the decent tree means like it is like a tree structure where it gives the result yes or no, and going on to like a diagram, it makes like a tree structure. And the major reason behind using decent tree is that while we are dealing with any types of classification, any types of research, those were based on the data. That means the nature of data. And it is not always general that the data is in the binomial distribution. Sometimes the data may be noisy, or like there may not be linear relationship. Okay. At a time, we have to use methodology other than that normal distribution. For that case, decision tree easily solve those types of problems. That's why it is mostly used in case of the image classification. And then, what is the objective of my research is that simply to prepare and assess the land cover mapping of Bharatpur metropolitan using the decision tree. And this is the study area, like Bharatpur metropolitan is the study area covering 233 kilometers square, and it lies in the southern bed of Nepal, and it is like 208 meters above from the sea level. And what are the data and software that I have used is Sentinel images, because it is open entry and the high spatial and spectral resolution, and the software was RStudio. It is open entry, and RStudio is quite good for image processing and the statistical analysis. And this is the overall methodology for this research that starts with the study from area to the publish the final map. And the first thing is the image pre-processing, where the image different area of images were downloaded, and then we have to make one clip for the one study area. That's why it is necessary to do image mosaicing. Then after, the individual bands needs to be stacked, and finally the administrative area of the area is clipped with our required study area. And then after, we have to make the area of interest. Like for area of interest, we have to decide how many classes we need to get. On that basis, we make the area of interest, and then we apply the decent tree algorithm. Here, figure shows that the classification tree works like the first is identify. It means it makes the probability decision whether it is urban or not. Then it makes yes or no. Then again it moves to the another node, and then it again decide whether it is urban or not, and based on that basis, it gives whether it is urban or not, and the result that has the highest maximum probable value, that will be selected as the that class we want to get. Okay, and then after the classified image, we need to do accuracy assessment. For that, we need the ground truth, and we normally take the ground truth from the high resolution image and the topo map of survey department. And for high resolution map, like we can get from the internet, like Zoom doc and the urban. Here we can see the map. The color is not as per our programs anyway. I realized later. And then this is the how much area that we have the computed area. That the first cover obviously more area, and then the river bank has the less area. We computed the river bank because maybe it can use for the agricultural purpose, because the river bank place is the more fertile. And what is the conclusion? That means it is simply use Decentralization algorithm for image classification, because easily you can get the sum coded and you can modify and you can get the result within a short period of time. No need of like high processing. And then the categorized map can be used by the policymaker for the further decisions. And this is zero process. And thank you. And I would like to acknowledge my friend Ruba Paudel for his some technical help. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sanjit Rao, for your presentation. So it's a detailed presentation on land cover classification using decision-tree analysis. So before moving to the second presentation, now I kindly request distinguished guests, participants, for your query, remarks, and questions. Any questions, please? Floor is open. No? No questions? Okay. Then I have one question. But what's the validation? You saw the different regions there, percentage of the land cover, land use. So how will you validate, or what's the validation process?
The thing is that I just first pick the point, like the point that is either in the coordinate system, and then I change into the raster format, and then I give it to the name. Like suppose I pick the point of the forest, and I pick the point of river bank, and then I add the one column, then I rename it. Okay. Agriculture, forest, urban, and then I convert those points into the raster based, and with making with the like the 10 meter by 10 meter resolution, because I have the satellite image with the spatial resolution of 10 meter, and then I convert the
Just my question is, are you going to validate with a field study there? That's my question. Is it possible to do that?
I don't have done it, but later I can be used with like other research. I heard that you have also done some language in the one, maybe I can use it in your future, okay?
So, okay, thank you, Sanjeev, for your presentation. So, I will move to the next presentation. Next speaker is Engineer Sunil Bhavati. So, Sunil Bhavati is a drone expert and technology leader and over 6 years of experience in Earth observation and the geospatial industry. He is dedicated to promoting the use of drones for sustainable development and has presented his insights on the topic at events such as the International Conference on Drones for Development, ICDD 2022. Sunil has a strong background in developing innovative drone solutions for hydropower feasibility study, environmental monitoring, land use planning, disaster risk reduction and management. He has worked with government agencies, international organizations, and private sector companies to build capacity and support the adoption of drone technology for sustainable development. I kindly request the speaker for your presentation, and now the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for such a lovely remarks. So, my name is Sunil Bogati, and I have been flying drones since 2015 when the major earthquake hit Nepal back in 2015. So my first project was to do the 3D modeling of archaeological sites, and I want to take this moment to thank Dr. Subhas. He was that time a supervisor along with Suresh Kesi. So coming back here in 2023, what I have achieved is I have mapped, I have spent 150 plus hours in Nepal sky mapping the mountain, hills, and Tarai. And today I feel so glad to share some of my glimpses through this perceiving, preserving, and promoting indigenous land use role model with drone mapping in Nepal. So these are the agenda I'm focusing on. First thing first, why indigenous knowledge? How many of you have followed NASA recent report? It was published back in February 9, that forest cover has increased to 45% back in 2016, which was actually, in 1992, it was 26%. It almost doubled. Can someone want to guess how this happened? Any guesses? It's simple. Community management group. Community forest is itself a role model for other people in the world also. And there is so much to learn, as Nepal is shifting from agriculture-based economy to industrial service-based economy. We have various problems. Rapid urbanization is there. The agricultural land is vanishing. Pollution, soil, waste management is a problem. How this can be addressed? I want to thank Dr. Chigabu, who also mentioned earlier in this morning that there is lack of active participation from the local people as well. So how to increase those participation? How to bring them? As Nepal is, there are 103 different caste and ethnic groups which interact with the ecosystem, natural resources in such a way that we can learn a lot from their ways and practices. So, as you see, how to increase the participation itself come into the theory itself. It's not about the control. It's not about the digital terrain model or land use maps. It's about giving the perspective, giving the people that they do understand these maps. If you go and show any of the grandpa, the land images, land auto mosaics or images that is captured by the drone, then he can guide you well. Here is the study area. I may have covered 500 different areas in the Nepal, but I have strategically chosen the province one, Chepua, which is in Sankhosoba, that is representing the mountain part here, and the new road, which is in Salai district, that is pointing, that is also going to represent the Tarai region, and there we have the Sudur Paschim, Mastamandu is in Acham, and that is going to represent the hilly region. So this is the methodology that I have employed. First, I acquired the data with the drone, and the first step was to process the data to achieve the auto mosaic, DSM, and other related technical jargons. And the second thing I did is classification of the same, the auto mosaic with the Google Earth Engine. And I did the accuracy assessment by splitting those random points of different classes that I have put into this model. So I was able to achieve the good accuracy, which I will show later on. And finally, I did the data analysis. So I would also want to request you to actively interact, okay? So it's like I am bragging a lot about the participatory mapping, and I still have to prove it here. I have represented the literature review, but I want you to participate as well. So this is the results that I have obtained from the auto mosaic for the Chepua. The first one is the auto mosaic, and the second one is the land use map. As you see that see the settlement zones, right? And also there is the food trail and the tree, barren land, and here is the percentage how the land uses various styles are there. Like 39% is barren in the mountain region. Why? Because of the snow cover, because of the bordering soil. So these are the regions. And here is for the hilly region, Mastermandu, and here is the land cover map. And you can see the percentage that 59% is the vegetation, and you can validate the same with the orthomosaic, the green one, and there you can see the agriculture land and so on. And here is the sample of the Tarai region, and you can see the agriculture land, the major portion is the agriculture land, and it is really feeding us. The Tarai is feeding us, and it is here validated with the data, and you can see one of the unique thing about the various lifestyle we are seeing is that the Tarai region buildings are well scattered in the outskirts, and the agricultural land is well covered with the road network. Sorry for that part, missing images there. So you can see the road network is covering this large portion, and that need to be preserved, and that lifestyle need to be promoted. And well, in the hilly, the settlement zone is in the center, and also in the mountain, the settlement zone is in the center, but the agricultural land is outside, covering the settlement zone. Well, here you see the just opposite. The lifestyle is different, and this is the accuracy that I have obtained. Thank you, Sanjay sir, for the theoretical part. So here I have obtained the Tarai region with overall accuracy of 94 that I did with the random forest classification using 50 decision tree. And similarly, for the Mastermandu, it is 91% accurately that land map was produced. And overall accuracy for the Chepua mountain region is 78%. Why? Maybe because of the flow, maybe because of the agricultural land is also like the barren land, the similarity colorization. And here I want to invite you to see these images closely. The first one is for the mountain, second one for the hilly, and the third one is the Tarai region. So you can see the build of resources. The first one, galvanized seed, right? And the galvanized seed is covered with the knitted bamboo cover that has been, that is one of the lifestyle, one of the resources they use to cover their houses. So that can be clearly visible, right? And the second one, there you can see, this is for the hilly region, and the rooftop is covered with the slates. And also, you can see the color of the wall of the house, that it is red ochre, or you can say ratomato. And here in the Tarai region, you can see the rooftop with the tiles. And there are several land that they are also building the brigades. You can see, you can analyze their lifestyle, and you can see the straw has been stockpiled here. So this way, we can analyze the lifestyle and also the landscape of various regions in the mountain, hills, and Tarai, and which can be very helpful. These are some of the recommendations that I want to give some of research fellow. If you wanted to do the temporal analysis, as you see, I have only considered one point at a time kind of a data. So with the temporal data, we can visualize how the change is happening. What is the trend, what is the transaction, and similarly, different vegetation and crop types can be analyzed if we have the other mosaic from different season. And also the participatory mapping session, I hope I did well. Okay, so there we have the hyperspectral also. And one of the interesting feature, one of the interesting finding of this research is also that with increasing elevation, the accuracy is also decreasing. That need to be further analyzed. So here I want to put the conclusion that we are able to conclude with that we are able to see that mapping with the drone and drone images and the other products are the products for everyone. Well, either you are an engineer or you are a grandpa in that locality, then you can show our generation that there used to be a stone spout that need to be revitalized. So this can be done well with this drone mapping in Nepal, and I really appreciate every one of you for being such a nice audience. And here are the references that I want to acknowledge every one of them, and also my colleagues from any engineering company and any engineering, and thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sunil Bogati, for your presentation on perceiving, preserving, and promoting indigenous land use model with drone mapping in Nepal. So his presentation more focused on indigenous land use model while designing land use project for development of scientific land use system and practices in the country. And we have also seen some of the recommendations for future works. And with this, we can say that there are a number of research to be done in the drone sector of Nepal. With this, now I'd like to open the floor for any question, any remark. And if you have any difficulty in listening or in understanding with this, the language, maybe you can ask in Nepali language also, because there is no international participants here, so we can interact in the Nepali also. If you have any question. Please. Okay, slide number 9.
Slide number 11.
Slide number 11.
It's kind of different here. Okay.
Yes. 14, 20, 12, 11.
Okay.
यो डिस्को फिगरमा अर्को मोजाइक भनेको छ हैन त्यो घरको चाहिँ वाल देख्छ रातो रङको वाल देख्नु कि त वाल पाङ्गो हुनु पर्यो
So it's auto photo, not auto mosaic, auto photo. It's a raw image of the drone. My focus is that these raw images or videos is understandable to everyone. So I want to prove this point, like with this raw image here.
अनि अर्को फोटो भयो भने त्यो वाल देख्न नपर्ने त टप मात्र देख्नु पर्ने अर्को मोजाइकबाट अर्को फोटो बन्ने हो त्यो हिसाबले यो अलि किनकि अब अर्को मोजाइक गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ त्यो अल्गोरिदमले अलि राम्रो काम नगरेर साइडतिर भएको भएर त इमेज म्याचिङ गर्दा नमिलेर हिवा आदि लागु हुन सक्छ अथवा यस्तो चाहिँ देख्न नपर्ने पनि मेरो कोहीमा
So technically drone यसरी उड्छ अनि अर्को फोटो भनेपछि जनरली टुवर्ड्स द डाउनवर्ड्स तर त्यो भनिरहँदाखेरि पनि ठ्याक्कै डाउन परपेन्डिकुलरली जुन छ त्यो पोइन्ट चाहिँ 90 डिग्री हुन्छ तर अरू ठाउँको अलिकति एंगल जान्छ अनि त्यही कुराहरु चाहिँ अल्गोरिदमले चाहिँ पछि सच्याएर अर्को मोजाइक बनाउने हो
त्यही भएर वाल चाहिँ देख्न नपर्ने भन्ने कारण त्यो
हो तर त्यही ठ्याक्कै जुन चाहिँ पोइन्ट हो जुन चाहिँ सेन्टर पोइन्ट हो त्यसबाट चाहिँ ठ्याक्कै 90 डिग्री हुन्छ तर अरूमा चाहिँ फेरि अलिकति एंगल चाहिँ हुन्छ त्यो एंगलले गर्दाखेरि कहिले हामीले चाहिँ अब्लिक इमेजेसहरु पनि युज गर्छौं बेटर 3D मोडलहरु बनाउनको लागि तर यो चाहिँ अर्को फोटो नै हो त्यसमा चाहिँ कुनै ठाउँमा चाहिँ
म चाहिँ कृषि मन्त्रालय सार्वजनिक भएन अनि यसबाट त्यो हाम्रो एग्रिकल्चरको टोटल एरिया त आउने जस्तै क्रप एरियाहरु जुन छ नि स्पेसिफिक क्रपको अब राइसको कति अनि त्यसपछि गएर मेजको कति अरु छ त्यो पनि आउने भयो हैन
या अभियसली
एउटा आउने भयो अनि यसको लागि यस्तै बजेट भोलि हामी छुटाउनु पर्यो मिनिस्टर तपाईलाई ट्याक्कै भन्न त नसक्ने अवस्था हुन सक्छ
ओके
भए पनि मोटामोटी यस्तो नेपाल भरिकै कुनै बेला जस्तै राइसको सिजनमा राइसको यो ड्रोनको प्रयोग गरेर दिने भने कति पर्ला भन्ने कुरा एउटा कुरो रह्यो होइन अनि त्यसपछि अर्को कुरो अब यो ड्रोनको प्रयोगमा गभर्मेन्टले अलिकति रोक लगाएको अथवा पर्मिसन लिनुपर्ने छ कतिको सजिलो हुन्छ अहिले त यो तपाईँको इन्डिभिजुअल राइटको कुरा होला के होला व्यक्तिको खिच्याउँछ घर खिच्याउँछ उसको भनौँ न यो चाहिँ तपाईँलाई अप्ठ्यारो परेको पर्छ अथवा कसरी चाहिँ यसको हुन्छ के गरिन्छ
Policy and regulation is always a pain point in enterprises. So that is what your question is representing well. So कुरा चाहिँ के हो भनेपछि पछिल्लो समय चाहिँ जुन हिसाबले ड्रोन चाहिँ ल नेपालले चाहिँ ल्याएको छ त्यसमा चाहिँ केही सर्टेन लिमिटेसनहरू छ जस्तै 2 केजी भन्दा चाहिँ माथिको ड्रोनहरू उडाउँदाखेरि चाहिँ अलिकति मजाले रेगुलेसनहरू सबै प्रोसिडियरहरू फलो गर्नुपर्छ तर 2 केजी भन्दा कम जुन चाहिँ मैले युज गरिरहेको छु त्यो भनेको DJI Mavic 2 Pro हो जुन चाहिँ 907 ग्राम हुनुपर्छ सो त्यो उडाउँदाखेरि र फर गभर्नमेन्ट अर्गनाइजेसन उनीहरूको प्रोजेक्टको लागि जस्तै म विद्युत प्राधिकरणको लागि उडाइरहेको छु र त्यही लमा एउटा क्लजमा चाहिँ के भनेको छ भने चाहिँ आफ्नो प्रयोजनको लागि रिसर्चको लागि आफ्नो एरियामा गभर्नमेन्ट अर्गनाइजेसनहरूले चाहिँ उडाउन पाउनुहुन्छ भन्ने हो त्यो भनिरहँदाखेरि चाहिँ अभियसली हामीले चाहिँ त्यहाँको लोकल गभर्नमेन्टसँग चाहिँ हामीले त्यही अनुसारको चाहिँ भेटघाटहरू सम्मेलनहरू गर्छौँ
क्रप एरिया जुन यसमा ड्रोनबाट हुन्छ नि त्यो
अभियसली
एक्युरेसी कस्तो हुन्छ
जस्तै क्रप एरियाकै कुराहरू गरिरहँदाखेरि म एउटा इन्ट्रेस्टिङ इमेज मेबी यहाँ पनि देखाउन चाहन्छु जस्तै त्यो माउन्टेन एरियामा तपाईँले देखिराख्नु भएको छ कुनै ठाउँमा चाहिँ भनौँ न धान उम्रिन थालिसक्यो कुनै ठाउँमा उम्रेकै छैन भनेपछि यो टाइपको एनालाइसिसहरू हामी गर्न सकिरहेका छौँ त्यस्तै गरेर चाहिँ यहाँ यदि अछामको हेर्न खोज्नुहुन्छ भने चाहिँ तपाईँले देख्न सक्नुहुन्छ कुन ठाउँमा चाहिँ अर्ग्यानिक फर्टिलाइजर राखिसकेको अवस्था हो कुन ठाउँमा छैन विच इज लाइक 2 to 10 सेन्टिमिटर रिजोल्युसन त्यो टाइपको डाटा हामीले ल्याइरहेको छौँ भनेपछि त्यसरी नै हामीले क्रपको हेल्थको कुराहरू पनि गर्न सक्छौँ तर त्यसको लागि चाहिँ हाइपर स्पेक्ट्रल इमेजिङ टेक्नोलोजी चाहिँ भित्राउनु पर्ने हुन्छ जुन नेपालमा सायद अहिले चाहिँ छैन होला सो कृषिको लागि हाइपर स्पेक्ट्रल प्लेटफर्म सेन्सरहरू तपाईँहरू किन्नको लागि म एकदमै चाहन्छु रेकमेन्ड गर्न चाहन्छु हुन्छ
We can discuss on later also. So, any question now? Well,
second photograph.
Okay.
The structures coming under the tree cover. How you will be taking that? Those
Yeah.
If from this photo it is coming under tree.
Yeah, obviously. So, yeah, that is one of the limitation. While flying through the above and also like 90 degrees. If you are flying and capturing also the oblique images, then there are chances of getting the data below the tree also. But I really recommend you to do the hybrid technology. Maybe you do that part with the terrestrial camera also, and the occluded part can then be modeled both together. Yeah.
okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your question. Now, thank you for your presentation also. Now I move to the next presenter, and next presenter is Bendra John Keshari John, and I kindly request to him to be in the floor. I will introduce the presenter. Bendra John Keshari John is a practicing architect and development planner. He has more than 5 years of experience working for development agencies at federal, provincial and local level governments in Sudar Pasim and Karnali province of Nepal in different fields including physical planning, infrastructure development, disaster risk management and monitoring and supervision of social programs as well. He has a research interest in a broad topics of social, economic and public policies related to the regional imbalance and uneven development in low and middle countries. Bhupendra is a graduate of International Joint MSc Spring Program Batch 2020 and 21 at TU Dortmund, Germany and UFABC Sao Paulo, Brazil, where he specialized in spatial planning and public policy. He also studied economics from University Alliance, Ruhr, Germany, and Sapienza University at Rome, Italy. He obtained PR from Gucho Campus Institute of Engineering, Tribhuvan University in 2017. I welcome to the speaker, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Session Chair, for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. Topic of my research paper or the presentation is about the land banking initiative in Nepal for sustainable development management, which looks into the unfinished agenda of decentralizing land use planning and land reform. So I'll be talking about the conceptual framework and the land banking initiatives in Nepal, case studies on land banking, then the agenda of land use reform and land use planning. The previous presentations were more of, they were based on empirics, but this presentation is more of a narrative and more of based on anecdotes. So it might be boring. So I request you to kindly bear with me for the next 10 or 12 minutes. So the theoretical and conceptual framework for this study was looking into the aspect of sustainable land management from redistributed land reform, then the adaptation of land banking, then which would address the integration of land use planning, and then the decentralization of land administration with stable land tenure and inclusive land use planning. Then the important agenda of land and agrarian reform, which should be addressed with proper land management and proper land administration. So while we look at the historical timeline of the initiatives taken for establishment of land bank in Nepal, the agenda arrived in 1994 with the establishment of or the formation of high-level land reform committee that conceptually enlisted the term land bank in their agenda at that time. Then coming to 2004 with National Agricultural Policy and also the 10th five-year plan from 2002 to 2007, that document or that legal instrument also talked about the establishment of a land bank. And it sort of came to realization, almost realization in 2005 with the World Bank proposal, whereby the World Bank also, made available some amount of fund for the establishment of the bank, but due to political conflict or several socio-economic agendas, the program was not initiated. It was halted. And then in 2014, the Agricultural Development Strategy also talked about establishment of land bank again. And recently, with the formulation of Land Use Act in 2019 and also the National Land Policy, they also talked about the establishment of land bank briefly. And in 2020, there was a concept of land banking, a brief concept of land banking, like how it will be established, the institutional framework, its operation and duties, which was published by Ministry of Land Management, Cooperatives and Poverty Alleviation. So this is the general timeline until now. The agenda arrived in 1994. So we can say like almost 3 decades, but still this idea has not yet been realized due to different reasons and several reasons. And while we go through the concept presented by the Molon CPA, it talks about the several stakeholders for land banking services. And from the government entity, there are the Ministry of Land Management, cooperatives, and poverty alleviation, then Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development, and the local levels. And there would be INGOs or NGOs and the CBOs.
and they would be the farmers, agricultural workers, landless or homeless people, and also the individual entrepreneurs, private businesses, and cooperatives. But this stakeholder matrix is still missing kind of few other important stakeholders. For example, from Ministry of Urban Development and from several other organizations also, for which like their input or their participation might, it might give like a clear idea of the operation of the land banking. Now I would like to move to the case studies on land banking. So the first one is from the Netherlands. While you look at the history of land banking in Netherlands, there was this Bureau of Land Management established in 1946, and the purpose was for consolidation of land in rural areas, for which the objective was to improve the land use and land management, and it also provided the management of the revolving land fund and facilitation for land leasing activities. And this was mostly motivated by the complications of land use in their country. So in order to move forward with better land use planning, the land bank was established and it worked on the agenda. And then the next case study was in the Philippines. I think this is the most relevant for our country. It was established in 1963 as the Land Bank of the Philippines. It was created to support the procurement and the subsequent distribution of agricultural land for division and resale, and also for the purpose of land holding. And it is currently providing loans or lending to the non-agricultural activities, which is to support the land reform function or activities, and also to provide credit assistance to the small farmers. So if we look in our context, we also have like agricultural development bank, but it's more of a commercial bank. This bank was like established for the purpose of the land reform. So the government of the Philippines, they formulated a land reform act in the country, and the mandate of the legal instrument was to establish a bank, which would be a land bank, and it would work towards the several issues of land redistribution and also supporting, in the agribusiness and those kind of things. And the next was on the United States. So there was this land bank established in 2004 in Genesee County, which is in Michigan. And it was established in response to the tax foreclosure cycle. There was like an economic financial crisis, and to that response, they established this land bank, which greatly addressed the issue of like a housing problem or housing crisis at the time. It required the almost 6% of the land of the city, and then assisted thousands of families during the foreclosure cycle. And under the initiative of that bank, several vacant buildings, they were redevelopment, and which are being now managed by a non-profit housing authority. So this case study also might be relevant in our context, since there is this trend of uncontrolled urbanization or haphazard urbanization. So we often hear about the bubble market in real estate and those kind of things. So this case study also might be relevant in that aspect. Now, coming back to the agenda of land use planning and land reform, so there are these issues of integration. The land use regulations and bylaws, they are disintegrated. That is devoid of infrastructure and legal instruments and capacity in the local levels, and a lot of land is like still in the informal land tenure, and there are these challenges of uncontrolled urbanization, food insecurity, and unemployment in agriculture. So for the decentralization issues in land use planning and land reform, the mandate given by the land use regulations in 2020 to devolate and also divide the power to the provincial and local governments would be relevant. Then the realization of principle of sustainable land management, and also the effective implementation of special legal and institutional framework from the fit for purpose land administration purpose. So, in conclusion, in case of our country, the adoption of proper model should be based on sustainable land management, the principle of participation and provision of redistribution, and also the fit for purpose land administration in the local levels. So, as I have already mentioned, like for land use planning aspect, the case study of Netherlands in multi-sectoral planning would be relevant. Then for the land and agrarian reform, the land bank of the Philippines approach would be relevant for supporting agriculture. And lastly, for land economy, the Genesee County Land Bank, which has the approach of land value capture, that might also be relevant in our context. So I'd like to conclude my presentation, and thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your presentation on land banking, initiative in Nepal for sustainable land management, unfinished agenda of decentralizing land use planning and land reform. And you have also shown international best practices on land banking with the case from the Netherlands, the Philippines, and the USA. So with this, now I kindly request distinguished participants for your question, for any remarks. Any question? Floor is open. No? So, I have one question that you see, land banking issue in Nepal is more debatable. I mean, it's debatable. It had pros, it had cons. So, you have already shown the best practices from the three countries. So, what's your opinion in the case of the issue of the land banking of Nepal? So, from the pros and cons, I mean, from both sides.
As I was, stressing in my presentation regarding the case study of the Philippines. Yeah. So, when you talk about the establishment of land banking in Nepal, the complications and debates come from the policy window of land and agrarian reform rather than other aspects. So, since the land bank of the Philippines is like quite, they have this mandate of the land reform in the country, so this would be more relevant in our context. But again, this is about the advantages, like the pros for resolving the issue of land reform. But the cons might be the dark side, the shadow side of the real estate. Still now, the real industry is highly inflated and those kind of things. So for that purpose, the approach of land use management from the Netherlands can be integrated while establishing the land bank.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your wonderful presentation. So I move to the next presentation, and the next presenter is Dr. Vasudev Kafle. So I would like to introduce the presenter here. Mr. Vasudev Kafle is the Joint Secretary of Government of Nepal and currently working as the Chief of National Center for Potato, Vegetable and Spice Crop Development under Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development. He is a PhD scholar in AFU2. His major interest area is to explore the Vedic wisdom in relation to modern agriculture development. So I welcome to the speaker, and the floor is yours, sirs. Thank you. Yes, okay. I think that's nice.
Thank you very much, respected chair, distinguished guests, and all the participants. I hope my presentation will give you a little bit different flavor, because I have very good different articles, Vedic articles related to land and agriculture, on the basis of which I have prepared this presentation, and this presentation is based on review of literature as well as my experience working in the agricultural field. Presentation. These are the presentation outline. My presentation covers concept of Vedic agriculture, agricultural land use issues in Nepal, Vedic farming system and agricultural land management, policies and programs for proper utilization and management of agricultural land in Nepal, and next one is conclusion. Basically, Veda is considered one of the oldest literature in the world, and it contains many ancient wisdom in the field of agriculture, including agricultural land management. And here is a book which we have written, Vedic Krishi Paddhati, the Pragmatic Kheti Pravidi, and this is the small book in which we have collected different facts about the agricultural system in the ancient time, in the Vedic period as well as the Pauranic period. And there is one sloka, I have taken it, adapted it from Rig Veda, that is Krishi Mulam Hi Jivan. It means agriculture is the main source of livelihood. Even now, agriculture plays the important role. It provides the highest share in the national GDP. Next one is the agricultural awareness of Vedic seeds. Vedic seeds means rishis, Rishi Muni. And right from the Vedic period was remarkable and praiseworthy. Rig Veda advises for the farming as the best means of gaining wealth and prosperity. Krishi mit krisasu bitte ramasho bahumanyamara. This is the slok taken from Rig Veda, and full slok is Acharma Divya Krishi mit krisasu bitte ramasho bahumanyamara. It means wherever occupation you are working, where you are, and you should not leave the agriculture sector. You should follow agriculture. This sloka says so. One of the land issue in Nepal, there is the situation of out-migration, urbanization and commercialization, and it has caused the underutilization and abandonment of land in the rural area, and encroachment and overutilization of the land in the urban area. And finally, it has influenced the food security in Nepal. This is the major land use issues. And out of the total area of Nepal, 28% of land is agricultural land, and out of which 21% is cultivated and 7% uncultivated. There is some of the studies indicates that 30% of the cultivated land is abundant in Nepal. However, there is no single comprehensive study on this, and we need to comprehensively study what is the percentage of land that is fallow or abundant land. These are some pilot study. Next one is some of the pilot study in Bhadore Tamaki area of Kaski and Arthur Parvat revealed that about 47% of the land found abundant. And Mr. Dahal, Pandit and Saha, they have done research, and this is their finding, but it is the pilot study in the specific location, but it does not represent the whole Nepal. And next one is Vedic farming system. Integrated farming system was popular at the time. Even now it is integrated farming system. There is well integration of agriculture, livestock, forestry as well as the business. And there is the one slogan that is from Kautilya Shastra, Krishi Pasuparle Vanijya Bharataha. It means major source of livelihood at the time was agriculture, livestock as well as Vanijya means that is business. And there are some sloka that is related to land, and it is taken from Atharva Veda. Mata Bhumi Putraham Pratibhya. The full sloka is Mata Bhumi Putraham Pratibhya Prajanne Pita Shauna Pevaratu. This is the full slope. And it is, we consider, our Vedic civilization consider respect, honor the land as a mother. It means we do not overexploit it, we do not underutilize it. Symbolically it says that it's proper utilization. And there are the different sloka. And in the Atharva Veda, you can go through Atharva Veda, there is a Bhumi Sukta. That is, Bhumi Sukta is related to land. How land is management and how land is managed for settlement purpose, how land is managed for agricultural purpose. I like this. And Bhumi Sukta, that is very important for you too. And Vedic civilization believes that underutilization, exploitation, and abuse of nature and natural resources, including for short-sighted gains and immediate pleasure, is unfair and unethical. It means there must be the proper utilization of land, and there must be the proper land use planning, land use policy. This is so. And next one is, how can we utilize the abundant land, or how can I utilize the fallow land? There are the many Vedic sloka that doesn't directly include the fallow land or abundant land, but how can we best utilize the agricultural land? That's just so. And there is a one sloka I say, and asusta mekam, pichuganda mekam, nagruda mekam, dasachinchi karam, kapitta bilva, malakatrayancha, panchara mutta, return napasya. It means there is the religious inspiration for the plantation of fruit crop. There are different fruit crop, different fruit, as well as the different tree that is related to Ayurvedic value, Ayurvedic value medicine. And so plantation of crops, that is the religious inspiration. Or Vedic culture, Vedic civilization, Vedic text, it always inspires to utilize the land by planting the different type of fruits like this. This is taken from different Purana. And next one is, there is one sloka, I focus on sloka, Vedic sloka. That is, Krisi Ranetra no dharmo nalava krisito netaha nasukham krisito netra edi dharmena karsati. And it means utilization of agricultural land was done with religious and cultural sentiment. This sloka say. And Krisi, it is the prestigious occupation. Krishi Ranetra no dharmo nalava krisito netaha. It means agriculture is a prestigious occupation, and we should involve in the agricultural sector. This sloka say. And next one is it is taken from Mahabharata. That is Puspitaha Palavantasaha Tarpantiha Manavan Vikshadam Putrabat Vikshas Tarente Pratacha. This is sloka taken from Mahabharata. And this sloka, what is the lesson from this sloka is that we should take the example from sloka Mahabharata, that who plants the fruit for social welfare are blessed in the afterlife. Not only this life, afterlife also. It's a pleasure to us. This is the inspiration to use the best utilized our agricultural land by fruit trees. Fruit. In the Vedic farming system, Vedic culture, I have already explained it. Vedic ecology is the integral part of the Nepalese society, and knowledge and skill derived from the Vedic culture inspired for the maintenance of the home garden in the different fruit and medicinal plant, watershed management, water harvesting and conservation, making groundwater recharge pond, grazing land, that we say Gaucharan. These are the Vedic culture. These are the culture, Vedic civilization. We learn from the Vedic civilization, and these also inspire us to best utilize the land, how our ancestors utilized the land properly. And ultimately, all these cultural beliefs inspire the best utilization of agricultural land. And there are certain policies, I go through these different policies. Nepal has made increasing effort and proper utilization and management of land through different policies and program. And there are three tiers of the governments, that is central government, that is federal government, provincial government, and the local governments. They have their own policy. However, the major policies are like this: Constitution of Nepal, National Land Use Policy, Land Use Act, National Agriculture Policy, Agriculture Development Strategy, Prime Minister Agriculture Modernization Project, PMA and P is called in short, and the 15th Five-Year Plan. All these policy plan, they include directly or indirectly the best utilization of the land. And there are some provincial policy program activities. I have listed here some of the province one has formulated agribusiness promotion subsidy procedure, which includes the guideline for encouraging the fruit trees cultivation in the fallow land. Next one is Madhya Pradesh also formulated guidelines to address the fallow land to the consecutive fiscal years. These are some policies from provincial government. Like Gandaki province also formulated and implemented the guideline encouraging commercial agriculture in the fallow land in 2007. It means there are different policies and programs by the provincial government for the best utilization of the agricultural land, so that it will not be abundant, it will not be fallow in the days to come too. And there are some local level of policy. I have collected different policy from different sources. You can see, you can visualize here. And local policy to utilize the fallow abundant land. Several local level has formulated approved acts on land use and also have approved technical procedure for conducting agricultural program in the fallow abundant land. That is in Nepali. Jaga बाजो जग्गा उपयोग अनुदान कार्यविधि भनेर ल्याएको छ हैन। त्यसपछि गएर अर्को यो विराटनगर महानगरपालिकाले हेर्नु है भू उपयोग कार्यविधि गरेर ल्याएको छ। त्यसपछि गएर अर्को छ स्थानीय राजपत्रमा निकाल्दा बालकोट नगरपालिकाले पनि त्यस्तै गरेर ल्याएको छ। अनि अर्को छ बाँझो जग्गा व्यवस्थापन तथा कृषि व्यवसाय प्रवर्धन ऐन भनेर गङ्गा जमुना गाउँपालिकाले ल्याएको छ भनेपछि अर्को छ यो नेपालीमै भएको नाम नेपाली भने सम्बन्ध 2075 सालको ऐन यति माली गाउँपालिकाले पनि ल्याएको छ हैन। त्यसपछि गएर भूमि बैंक सम्बन्धी कार्यविधि अनि भूमि बैंकको कुरा आथ्यो नि ल्याएको छ हैन। ल्याएको त्यसरी भएपछि विभिन्न there are different policies and program and acts that is formulated and implemented by the different local municipalities too. This is the overall conclusion. I have already explained about it. The overall study revealed that the Vedic wisdom on agricultural land management expressed in the Vedic literature right from the human civilization is remarkable and praiseworthy. And agricultural wisdom expressed in different Vedic literature is always relevant in the present context too. And I have already shown there is the well integration of the agriculture, livestock, agroforestry, forestry, as well as the business sector in the overall development of agriculture sector. That is explained in the Vedic text, and we can integrate we can follow the integrated farming, focusing on the agro-horticultural model. And likewise, for this, government should have supported policies and program with effective implementation of land use policies and act. Finally, this is the final conclusion. It can be concluded that a further study is needed by the scholars and researchers to utilize the valuable treasure of the ancient Vedic wisdom. And for agricultural land management with reference to current land use policy of Nepal. It means I have already explained there are many sloka and there are many subhashitam in Sanskrit texts in our Vedic civilization and the different culture also. On the basis of which different culture has been developed, it inspires us for the best utilization of the land for agricultural purpose or other place settlement or settlement purpose also. But as an agriculturist, I say, and we should best utilize the land for agricultural purpose, and we should conserve, we should protect the agricultural land as stated by the different Vedic literature. This is the last slide, I suppose. Thank you very much. If you have any
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your impressive presentation on the utilization of abundant and fallow agriculture land in Nepal, lensing to the Vedic wisdom perspective. And your presentation more focused on this concept of Vedic agriculture, agricultural land issues in Nepal, Vedic farming system and agricultural land management, policies and programs for proper utilization and management of agricultural land in Nepal. So with this, I again open the floor for any question. Any remarks?
Okay, remarks. Question and remarks. I just wanted the presentation down with the Krishna and I'm the Secretary of Minister of Home Affairs. Now I'm working in India. Okay, I just wanted to share some my experience. So Nepali खास गरी म चाहिँ पहिला यो इन्टरनेसनल एटमिक एनर्जी एजेन्सीको नेपालको चाहिँ representative RCA भन्छ, Regional Cooperative Agreements among Asia and the Pacific, त्यसमा चाहिँ हामी 25वटा कन्ट्री थियौँ। अनि त्यो बेला चाहिँ हामीले मेरो स्वरमै अगाडि बढ्छ होला। यो कृषिमा चाहिँ खास गरी हामीले न्युक्लियर टेक्नोलोजी प्रयोग गरेर चाहिँ प्रोडक्टिभिटी या प्रोडक्सन बढाउने, भ्यालु बढाउने उद्देश्य चाहिँ काम गरेका थियौँ। अनि कृषि मन्त्रालयबाट सायद परशुराम अधिकारी सर हुनुहुन्छ। अनि त्यहाँ हाम्रो प्रोजेक्टहरू थियो, मलाई याद भएसम्म एउटा प्रोजेक्ट थियो स्ट्रेन्थनिङ adaptive climate change strategies for food security through the use of food irradiation. त्यो प्रोजेक्ट थियो, परशुराम सरले काम गर्नुभएको थियो, बिचमै त्यो एवार्ड भयो कालिम्पोङमा। अनि अर्को थियो फेरि electron beam applications for value addition to food and industrial products and degradation of environmental pollutants भन्ने थियो। यो एसिया पेसिफिकमा हामी 25वटा कन्ट्री जोइन्टली काम गर्छौँ। अब खास गरी कृषिको चाहिँ त्यहाँ प्रस्तुति भनौँ न, सहभागिता त्यति एक्टिभ थिएन त्यो बेलामा पनि, खालि विदेश हुने मात्रै लाउने हेरियो। त्यो बाहेक अर्को चाहिँ यो तपाईँको मस्किटो कन्ट्रोलको लागि चाहिँ SIT छ, स्टेराइल इन्सेक्ट टेक्नोलोजी भन्ने, त्यसमा पनि न्युक्लियर टेक्नोलोजी प्रयोग हुन्छ। उनीहरूले चाहिँ कृषि मन्त्रालयलाई फोकस गरेर खास गरी यो सेक्टरमा तपाईँहरू अलिकति एक्टिभ भएर लाग्नुहोस् भनेर इन्करेज गरिरहेको थियो। त्यो पछि म बिचमा छोडेर मलाई मिनिस्ट्री अफ होम एफेयर्समा आएँ, त्यस उता मलाई थाहा छैन। सरले यो विषयमा एकचोटि त्यहाँ धेरैवटा प्रोजेक्ट छ जहाँ चाहिँ यस्तो उखुमा चाहिँ सुगर क्यानमा चाहिँ हाम्रो नारको विन्देश्वर प्रसाद शाहले काम गरिनु भएको थियो। अनि अर्को कृष्ण मिश्र नारक उहाँले पनि काम गर्नुभएको थियो अर्को प्रोजेक्टमा। अनि दोजराज सरले पनि काम गर्नुभएको सरलाई चाहिँ मैले जस्ट रिमाइन्ड गराएँ।
थ्याङ्क यू
भेरी मच। सरलाई मैले रिमाइन्ड मात्रै गराएको न्युक्लियर टेक्नोलोजी छ भन्ने सम्झाएको।
Thank you, sir, for your active participation. Thank you, sir, for your presentation. So, this one. Lastly, please. So now I move to the next presentation, and the next speaker is Mr. Punya Prasad Olishar. Mr. Punya Prasad Olishar is former Joint Secretary, Ministry of Land Reform and Management and DG Survey Department from 1990 to 2001, and President, Nepal Institute of Charter Surveyors, and consultant ERMC Private Limited, and principal of Himalayan College of Geomatics Engineering and Land Resource Management, GIT. So I welcome to the presenter, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. My title is the Land Use Planning Initiative. Actually, we have not much plan, so we are trying to develop some sort of thing. So the content would be land use planning, and so the mostly I have two things. One is land use zoning, and also the land pooling. Two things I would like to talk about it, but I have not said anything about the compulsory acquisition of the land for the projects in this. But that is many projects they use the compulsory acquisition with the payment of substantial money for the project. So land use planning initiation was started for the land pooling was started in the irrigation program in 1960s, but it didn't continue, and now all the irrigation project, they procure the land by compulsory purchase. Resettlement in the cadastral survey, there were 3,400 small area, settlement area was not surveyed. At that time, we wanted to use this development, town development process, but I don't know, some other reason, they could not carry out, so they continue normal cadastral survey process. Land resources mapping was carried out in 1978 to 86, where I was the project co-director from Nepal side. So in that one we had the climate map of the whole Nepal, geology and mineral resources. Mostly this photogeology work we carried out, and land system, that is the soil and landform, and then the land utilization, that is what they call now is the present land use, but I use the term and land capability, that is the quality of the land without technology, without seeing the technology. If it is a good land, and if there is no good technology, then the production was not good. So we like to know what was the quality of the land, and also study the economic situation of the whole country. So it was the main purpose was to have know the situation of Nepal, and then how to develop the sustainable use and the development. And I asked the foreign experts at that time, and say, what can we do to improve that thing? But they said, the Nepal has the best land management system. So with this traditional system, they could not offer any advice to us. So land use zoning. So after this, with the infrastructure development and the facility improvement, and the population also increased in Nepal, and then there was a pressure on the biodiversity and cultural and agricultural land. The pressure increased. So we wanted to preserve the agricultural land as well as the biodiversity and our cultural and archaeological sites. So for that purpose, I think land use project, they initiated the mapping of 1 in 10,000 scale, the land utilization. So they carry out soil mapping and risk mapping and land use zoning, and cadastral maps were superimposed on the land use zoning map. So because we needed cadastral map, because unless we, generally we cadastral we survey say there are 3 R's. One is the rights on the land, and they have also restriction on the land, and they have also responsibility to produce something. So the third R is not there, you see, because in our, we gave the certificate, we gave them rights, and then if they take mortgage or some sort of thing, there is a record, but no responsibility whether you can keep fallow or what sort of. So we would like to fix the land use for a particular rights, and so for many years, they will continue this problem, and so so we have this government formulated the land policy. Actually, we wanted to formulate the land use. We formulated land policy, but we wanted to formulate land policy. But because of this, the new constitution was formulated, so we could not do it. So they will continue. Land use policy is formulated. And then the Land Use Act came 2019, and Land Use Regulation. And in this act and formulation, I also work as sometimes as an advisor. So I have quite satisfied, not to my satisfaction, but at least I had something this thing. So in the urban planning, urban land use planning, in the urban land use planning, we did we had a small area plan, and some area we have a feasibility study also carried out to the Kathmandu ring road area, but it was a quite big area, but implementation was problem at that time. So urban municipal planning, what you call mapping, was the municipal area was the land use mapping at the scale of 1 in 5,000, and then using the satellite imagery. Sometimes we use leveling, or sometimes we use the photogrammetric technique to get the heights. And then we have socio-economic survey carried out, and they need, we need the street names, and then also we need the house numbering and so on. This sort of the work was carried out. Generally, we make the manual and go to the municipality, and then they discuss, and when they approve, and then we did continue this land use, what you call street names, and then we have to also have a discussion with the approval, and all these things is democratically approved. So another work is the actually the land pooling process. It is the approval of land pooling area, that's by the government, and approval of by the majority of the landowners. If they don't agree, more than 50%. Before it was 75%. I don't know now, but it was more than 51% agreed, then we can carry out. And the detailed topographical mapping and the superimposition of cadastral maps and data, and land use planning. And then urban planning is different things, whether this is a housing area or industrial area and so on. This land use planning is another thing. And then after the land use planning, then we have to present with the landowners, what we call stakeholders and landowners approval, and then we submit to the government, and after the government approval, and it will be implemented. And then the landowners' land is assigned mostly where the land is there, but there will be some reduced size. So it can be 38% to 40% reduction in the size. But when we do the land pooling process, it must be at least 4 times, the value has to be 4 times in the present value after the development. Otherwise, it will not be economical, and so the infrastructure is developed, and then the parcel land is handed over to the landowners. Now, this is the land use. Ours now is the land use zoning. So they have in the what we call state level, central level we have, and then provincial level, federal level, and the provincial level, and then it is local level council, and this is the local level council. It is working now with these things. So it is the chairman of the rural municipality or the mayor of the municipality is the chairperson, and concerned ward chairperson is a member, and concerned the section chief of the related area, and so on. Sorry?
3 minutes.
Okay. So in this land use act or regulation, there is also a land ceiling, lower ceiling. So in the valley, 500 square meter means 1 ropen, and Tarai is 675 square meter, and other area is 1,000 square meter. And urban area now is, before it was 79.5 or something, 80 square meter, now it's 130 meter. So I think it's good because the 80 square meter is too small, you know, and in that also they say the parcel can be adjusted with the neighbors, and also land consolidation could be done. So in the land use zoning there are now 10 zones: agricultural, residential, commercial, industrial, mines, and mineral resources, and so on. So with this, I could say, you know, if the land use zone is carried out, then there will be, I think the land will be protected for agriculture, forest, and other different sites, you know, these 10 categories of land. That is my opinion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful presentation. So, wonderful presentation on land use planning initiatives in Nepal. He had focused on how land use planning and use of land is stabilized, the land use to improve the productivity, sustainability of the land, and focusing on land use planning, urban land use planning, land use zoning, local land use council. So with this, again I kindly request distinguished guests for any question. So time is over, otherwise.
मेरो
Yes,
छ
please. Okay.
सर त लामो अनुभव हुनुभएको भएर पहिलाको पनि भयो, अहिले पनि यति 78 79 मा नि स्टिल एक्टिभ के हैन, यस्तो खुसी लाग्यो। अनि मलाई चाहिँ जस्तै यो हामीले विभिन्न पोलिसीहरू हुन त म आफै पनि जिम्मेवार हो, मैले पनि जवाफ दिनु पर्यो, तै पनि सरसँग मैले मलाई सोध्दाखेरि जवाफ दिने कुरा आउँछ कि भनेर सोध्दैछु क्या। अनि विभिन्न एक्ट छ हामीसँग हैन, वी आर डिफरेन्ट एक्ट्स एन्ड ल्यान्ड युज पोलिसी एन्ड प्लान छ नि हामीसँग होइन यो हुँदाहुँदै पनि अब त्यसलाई इफेक्टिभली इम्प्लिमेन्टेसन गर्न सकेको छैन जस्तै अब कृषिकै कुरा गर्छ भने एग्रिकल्चर ल्यान्डलाई हामीले जुन किसिमको बचाउनु पर्ने हो होइन फ्रेगमेन्टेसनमा गएको छ अर्गनाइजेसन भएको छ मतलब यो हुँदाहुँदै पनि यो किन भइरहेको छ किन सकिएको छैन के गर्ने होला लौ न सर यो
होइन एउटा चाहिँ यो मुख्य कुरा चाहिँ के भयो भनेदेखि मैले भने जस्तो कुनै मान्छेलाई पूर्जा दियो भने यहाँले चाहिँ के भन्नुभयो तपाईँको अधिकार यो जग्गा हो तपाईँ बेच्नुहोस् बाँड्नुहोस् उ गर्नुहोस् भन्ने जुन हाम्रो टुक्र्याउनुहोस् जेसुकै गर्नुहोस् भनेर त दियो तर दिएपछि तर त्यसको साथमा चाहिँ पूर्जामा के पनि हुनु पर्थ्यो भने तपाईँले यो प्रोडक्सन गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने चाहिँ त्यहाँ लेखिएन त्यसले गर्दाखेरि भएन अनि हाम्रो चाहिँ पहिलेदेखि नै सुरुदेखिकै टाउको दुखाइ के भनेदेखि गत 20 वर्षसम्म चाहिँ हामी के भनिरहेछौँ भने यसलाई चाहिँ ल्यान्ड जोनिङ गर्नु पर्यो भनेर भनियो तर त्यो चाहिँ कानुनले इम्प्लिमेन्टेसन गर्ने चाहिँ नभइकन भएन त्यो कारणले चाहिँ त्यो भएको तर यदि चाहिँ अहिलेको अनुसार चाहिँ गाविस वडा के अरे नगरपालिका अथवा गाउँपालिकाले चाहिँ उहाँहरूले चाहिँ त्यो चाहिँ टाइममा गरिदियो भनेदेखि त त्यो फिक्स हुन्छ अब अनि त्यहाँ के पनि व्यवस्था छ भनेदेखि अघि यहाँ स्लाइडमा थियो त्यो मैले फटाफट गइहालेँ अब त्यसमा चाहिँ के छ भनेदेखि त्यो काउन्सिलले चाहिँ काउन्सिल सुड formulate the fix the land use and then the land revenue office should record in his record as well as he will record in the original land certificate. So अब यो चाहिँ काम भयो भनेदेखि चाहिँ अनि पछि गएर सबैलाई थाहा हुन्छ तर अहिले चाहिँ के भइरहेछ भने नापी गर्ने बेलामा जङ्गल फाँडे जस्तै अहिले चाहिँ के छ भने सबैलाई चाहिँ यो चाहिँ के भने आवासमा लानलाई मान्छेहरूले गरिरहेछ त्यो चाहिँ त्यो किनभने यहाँ धुलीखेलमा आउँदा पनि हामी आउँदै थियौँ यहाँ नापी हुन लाग्यो त्यसैले चाहिँ सबले जङ्गल फाँड्यो एउटा चाहिँ अहिले बस्ती भयो
आवास
Okay, sir, I have a question. Sir, for land pooling area, you have said that for a scheme to be implementable, 50% of the people have to be agreed for that.
51%.
51%.
Yeah.
And for rest of the people, if they are not agreeing, then how the scheme will come? Whether there is any compulsion or any in your act, either any
implementation.
How
so it will be under the land what do you call Town Planning Act will.
As per Town Planning Act, it's compulsory that balance 49% have to come in the scheme.
Come to the understanding. So because this is not the government is taking.
Because on the basis of understanding, it won't be implementable. In Delhi, we are facing problem like we are having 70% are not coming, 70% are coming, 30% are not coming. So we are incorporating in the act itself, and they have to come compulsorily. They have to come 30%. So whether some act is governing that or legal,
that is
otherwise people will not come.
I think the Urban Development Act 2045 that is revised for that purpose.
Okay, thank you all the speakers, thank you distinguished participants for your remarks, for your questions, and thank you all the speakers. And with this now, we are heading to provide for the token of honor, and I hand over my mic to the rapporteur for the process.
So, let's do it there.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to call the participants for receiving certificate and token of law. First of all, I would like to call Mr. Sanjeev Raut sir for receiving certificate and token of law.
Banner house.
Next, I would like to call upon Mr. Sunil Bogati sir for receiving certificate. Mr. Bhupendra J.K. Chand sir. Now I would like to call upon Mr. Punya Prasad Odi sir for receiving certificate and token of love. Now I would like to call upon Mr. Vasudev Kafle sir for receiving certificate and
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So with this, we'll conclude this session. Thank you all of you for your attendance. Thank you.